Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Max Velocity weather forecast. And in today's forecast, we'll be breaking down a huge weather pattern change that will be coming to the United States this week. And will be bringing an excessive heat wave to a large chunk of the United States. Little to no precipitation, but there will be some severe weather across the country. I'll be giving you the latest breakdown on everything that you need to know in this forecast. But let's first begin with what's happening across the United States today. And we'll first begin with the eastern tier of the United States. That is where Tropical Storm Idalia does continue to unravel. It is actually weakening pretty quickly. It is going to become a post-tropical cyclone here pretty soon. Notice this area of circulation. It is very undefined at this point. It is still producing winds, though, as high as 60 miles per hour in the center, but it is moving off the coast of North Carolina. And you might be wondering, why am I really talking about this? Well, this actually could come back toward the United States as we go closer to next week. And if that happens, it very well could impact the United States on the East Coast. And I'll be breaking down what that looks like here in just a few minutes, what the chances of that are, and will it be going back toward Florida or somewhere else? There's been a lot of talk about this, so again, we'll break that down for you here in just a moment. Now, back up in the northern plains, this is really our only other low pressure system in the United States that's producing any sort of precipitation. This is back up in parts of southern Canada and as well as in the northern plains. There's been some showers and storms in parts of Minnesota, but that's really about it. There's no severe weather with this. It's very minimal in terms of thunderstorm activity. You might notice the cloud tops are not overly cold, which means that these thunderstorms are not really that strong, and they will not probably be severe today. And overall, for the remainder of the country, it is dry as a bone, anywhere from the northeast all the way back through the southern plains and the Midwest, and as well as into the southwest United States. But we will begin to see monsoon season start to ramp up. There will be more showers and storms over the next few days. We'll begin to see a low-end threat for severe weather as well, so things will start to get interesting there for sure. Here's the latest on Tropical Storm Idalia. It again is expected to go back down to actually a post-tropical cyclone, but it's expected to reorganize itself and re-strengthen as it heads toward Bermuda, and eventually by Saturday this will make landfall, or at least a very close appearance to Bermuda, with flooding rains, as it's very slow as it goes into the Atlantic Ocean. It will really slow down substantially, which will promote the threat for some flooding rains near Bermuda. Now from there's a large cone of uncertainty, and there's been a lot of questions whether this could go back toward Florida into next week, whether this could even go back toward New England. So what does that exactly look like? What are we looking at over the next several days, and where will this exactly be going? To figure this out, we can look at the spaghetti models. This is a large variety of various computer models that are going to be showing the track of the center of this system. So over the next several days, it's very well in unison that it'll be impacting Bermuda, moving very slowly. From there, though, we don't really have any outlier models that are bringing this back toward Florida. So that's good news if you're in Florida. This does not seem to be making a secondary appearance there. However, there's been some big changes to this over the last couple of days that actually indicate that this could even turn back toward the northeast. A lot of computer models have been indicating this, but obviously there is still some uncertainty since this is still over 5 days out. There are still a few computer models that bring this right out to sea and away from the United States, but if this did go back toward New England, we could be looking at the redevelopment here of a stronger tropical storm, maybe even a low-end category 1 hurricane. But again, there are still multiple days out, so stay tuned. Things will obviously change. We'll have a better idea of what's going to actually happen, because there are still a lot of uncertainty points here. It very well could go out to the Atlantic Ocean, could go back toward the northeast, but it will definitely be something to watch for here over the next several days. Just in case you're curious, the European model, which has been very accurate so far this hurricane season in terms of hurricanes and tropical storms, does indicate that this will go toward Bermuda over the next several days. Notice how it just sits there near Bermuda. Again, dumping rainfall. Very well could see some flash flooding there on Bermuda. It'll sit there all the way through Monday, and eventually by Tuesday into Wednesday, notice it kind of turns it back toward the northeast, and it's going to be a pretty close call whatever happens here. It very well could impact the northeast. It might even sit offshore, so a lot of things could happen, but again, there are multiple days out, so we'll keep you posted with the latest. But there is just a lot of uncertainty from here, but it's obviously going to be something to watch for over the next few days. Now, let's talk more about the weather pattern here across the United States. There's a lot to talk about here because a lot of you have been experiencing very dry, very warm conditions for the last several days, if not weeks. If you're in that scenario, you're probably wondering, when is it going to end and when will we actually see rain? So let me give you a breakdown of what to expect over the next several days, and we're going to look at our jet stream. The jet stream controls the weather patterns here in the United States. This is at the 300 millibar level, so it's obviously in the upper atmosphere atmosphere here. Notice where the jet stream is right now. It's overall pretty weak off to parts of like the northeast United States back into Canada. We have a little trough that's back up in parts of Canada, another trough that's coming right now out of the northwest United States, and we still have our heat dome that's dominating the southwest United States, and that's in the upper levels. In the lower levels, we do have a high pressure system back up in parts of the northeast United States, which is keeping those areas fairly dry right now. Now, as we go throughout the next several days, things are going to change pretty rapidly, so we're going to start to see this heat dome move further to the north in the United States in the upper levels. So that means we're going to start to see basically the death ridge returning to the United States for at least one last time here before summer officially ends in terms of the astronomical summer. So this is going to return. We'll have this low pressure system sitting in the western United States. This will ramp up the rain, showers, and storms for parts of areas in the Four Corner states and back into California. So some good news there if you're looking for some rain. Notice where the jet stream is, though. It is nowhere really toward anywhere in the southern plains. It's going to be sitting well up into Canada, which means only activity that we'll really see would be closer to surface-based showers and storms. So overall, once we go into next week, we're still looking at this huge heat dome dominating the United States. This is the potential Idalia going back toward the United States and the European model. And then this is your jet stream lifted way back up to the north with another low pressure system over here that is just coming off the coast of California. But unfortunately, the jet stream is indicating that we're really not going to see any substantial activity here in the United States in terms of showers and storms. But we will at least see some showers and storms with more surface-based activity. But in terms of the jet stream, there's no organized, really big, severe weather events in our future. So it's good news if you don't want severe weather, but obviously bad news because we're not going to really see a whole lot of rain here over the next several days. And I'll show you what the rainfall totals also look like here in just a second. Here are the temperature anomalies here across the United States. Again, we're going to have a huge blast of excessive heat for parts of the Midwest. That's going to be a big concern. Very possible that we'll see record-breaking temperatures up there throughout the beginning of September. And this heat will continue, and it's really not going to go anywhere. So it's going to be really a brutal next 7 to 10 days here in the United States. Summer's going nowhere right now. This is the forecasted high temperatures for Sunday. Look at the temperatures back up in the Midwest. This does not include the heat indices that will probably be way warmer than this, possibly by as much as 10 degrees in some of those areas. Areas like the Midwest in the hundreds. So it's going to be very warm, even the Chicago area in the mid 90s for those areas as well. So again, very warm temperatures are expected. The Climate Prediction Center also saying the same thing. First and second week of September, above average temperatures are expected for a large chunk of the United States, especially in the southern plains, where it is very likely that you'll begin above average. And also going into the second week of September, no difference there. Above average temperatures are expected for a very large chunk of the country. Here's what the future radar looks like for the next several days. This is Saturday into Sunday. Notice high pressure dominates. Maybe by next week we start to see some sneaky systems come into parts of the central and northern plains, perhaps the Midwest. But again, there's nothing really that is set in stone at this point for high precipitation chances here in the United States. Idalia might be really the only one that we can confidently say that could actually come back toward the United States, but even then, that is still a stretch at this point. In terms of precipitation for the next 7 days from the Weather Prediction Center, we're not really looking at much for a large chunk of the country. Great Plains has a huge hole of rain, as well as the Northeast and back through the Mid-Atlantic. Again, we might see Idalia up here, but it's too far out to really tell if it'll go up there. And then for parts of the Midwest, we might see between nothing to up to an inch of rain. Nothing substantial right now is really expected there. And then back into the western tier of the United States, monsoon season's ramping up. Some showers and storms are possible there. Climate Prediction Center currently indicating that we'll have below average precipitation for a large chunk of the country for the first week of September and as well as the second week of September. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit the like button down below and subscribe if you've not already.